Hey everyone, it is me, Kevin. I am back with yet another video. So with the Neopets Renaissance team pushing at 150%, we've already seen a ton of new content come into the game recently and a lot more coming in the near future. I've already spent an entire video talking about what I see coming in 2025 and why I feel really good about the site and the future that it has kind of set itself up to become. You can find more about that in this video over here somewhere. I'll put it on the screen. But today I actually want to spend some time talking about Neopets' monthly subscription service. Everyone knows this as premium. And more specifically, I want to talk about some of the recent changes that have come to it and the controversies that are surrounding them as well. So I've discussed this in a few videos before, but let's be real, Neopets has been hanging on by a thread for quite a while now. I think between the mismanagement, the data breaches, the long stretches with zero updates, the controversy like the Adam Madonna stuff and the Scientology, it's always felt like the end was just around the corner. But now with TNT Dom kind of leading the charge, it's felt like we've gotten a breath of fresh air in the game. It feels like we now have a team that's actually dedicated to keeping the brand not only alive, but thriving as well. This is where the latest premium updates comes into play. I feel like premium is kind of evolving from a background perk to becoming more of a standout site feature, and in general just playing a larger role in the average person's gameplay. Alright, so let's talk about what Neopets Premium actually is. It's a subscription service, and I feel like if you've been around for long enough, Neopets Premium has always just kind of felt like something that's just there. You know, there were some features that are pretty cool and do have their benefits, but for the most part, it's always felt like just like a nice to have and just an add-on bonus. I even remember when I was a kid begging my parents to let me get premium, and I remember hyping it up, talking about the premium portal and like even how it even had like a calculator. Looking back, I can totally imagine why my parents were probably sitting there like, what the hell are you talking about? Imagine pitching a paid calculator as a reason to spend like 10 bucks on a game to your parents that are living paycheck to paycheck. That's like peak 2000s brain in my opinion. All of that said though, even in the old days, there were definitely some premium features that were probably considered pretty good for the time. I would probably say the most iconic feature was the Super Shop Wizard, which by itself was probably the primary reason a lot of people signed up for premium in the first place. If you're not familiar, the Super Shop Wizard lets you search for the best item prices across every user shop in the game instead of being limited to random results. This is a huge advantage. If you're trying to flip items for profit, you can immediately see if someone priced their item way below market price and snatch it up, or it lets you always have the lowest price items in every single user shop. Now, there were some limitations, like you can't search for most paintbrushes, nerf mids, lab maps, etc., since I guess that kind of crossed the line. Regardless, this release did come with its own controversies. Folks argued that the regular shop wizard seemed like it was intentionally designed with these false scarcities and difficulties just for the sake of making the Super Shop Wizard feel more useful. I would even argue that this is probably like the starting place and maybe one of the first instances where that pay to win conversation really kicked off on Neopets. Another older feature is the premium exclusive boards, which honestly always just kind of felt like really quiet VIP lounges. If you remember the old days, the main boards like the Avatar chat, the Battle Dome chat, they were always extremely busy, super chaotic, drama, fights, you know, whatever you wanted, you were gonna find it there. The premium boards were not like that. In fact, I always felt like the premium boards were where like the sophisticated older players would go to just chat about, you know, stocks or something, you know, their daily lives, talking about having kids. And it always just felt like an area where it was like, okay, you guys can go there to chill. I'm gonna be here being messy, making side accounts to fight with people. Like, you guys do you, and I'm gonna do me. So with that said, I feel fairly safe in saying that for I think most people, the premium boards were not the primary reason why you would ever get premium. So another small feature that we had access to were the Space Ferry scratch cards. In addition to the standard scratch cards from places like the Ice Caves and Deserted Fairgrounds, premium players received special scratch cards. These had some pretty interesting items in the prize pool, but I would argue it was more or less a dead feature for a really long time. And I would guess that most people had tons of scratch cards just piling up without even noticing that they were piling up because the rewards were so useless. Now, I will say more recently, TNT did update the prize pool for the first time in 11 years, and it included some really cool items like the Space Ferry stamp and the inverted Space Ferry stamp. They did deflate fairly quickly though, because like I mentioned, most people were sitting on a ton of scratch cards that they would never have bothered scratching otherwise. So it quickly turned into a not so great perk. And then to wrap up some of the major older perks, the premium toolbar was another big one. It was essentially a bar that was embedded into the bottom of your screen in the old Neopets UI that had information on your Neopoints, shop wizard, quick bookmarks, and a few other features that people probably never clicked on. I actually personally really liked this feature. I thought it gave really quick access to the super shop wizard. It let me check if items were selling in my shop without having to actually navigate to my shop. And I don't know, it was just nice to have my favorite dailies kind of directly embedded into the game. With that said, we have Jelly Neo's dailies page, and the UI was literally overhauled to make this completely useless, I would say. So I would call this an extinct feature. So I will pause here a second and just kind of say that that's basically it as far as the big features from like the old days of premium. I remember researching for this video and being like, wait, that's it? It really wasn't much, and it felt like the features weren't that significant. There are some more features that were added a few years after that I think were a lot more substantial, and you may start to notice a pattern of why these actually felt like they mattered more to players too. So now jumping into some of the more newer substantial features, I think the first thing I will cover is the monthly premium collectibles. If you're a premium subscriber, you get an exclusive Neocash wearable at the beginning of every month. These were generally pretty random, but could occasionally be quite popular. Some of my favorites were the Stonebridge foreground, the daisy field background, lovely lilac stairs background, and inside a cherry blossom bubble. And while this didn't necessarily have a direct impact on the gameplay in terms of Neopoints, it definitely had an impact on NC trading. Some folks considered it a really great perk to be able to use these to bolster their trade list, especially if they were people that wouldn't necessarily spend very much otherwise. However, in November of 2024, TND did re-release these items for the very first time through the release of the premium collectibles Anniversary Retired Mystery Capsule. Bit of a mouthful. This sparked a lot of controversy because a lot of folks viewed these items as exclusive perks from being a premium member. And with their release to everyone, it felt like it further devalued their premium subscription and was taking away yet another reason to stay subscribed to premium. So another newer feature that I wanted to touch on is the premium perk. The premium perk lets you change any pet species to anything you want. Drakes and crocs were originally excluded, but in August of 2024, so fairly recently, they are now a part of the options for those species changes. There's actually a really cool workaround here where if you take a painted pet and try to change the species and that color is not available for that new species, it'll allow you to re-roll the color to anything that is available to them. For example, if you try to change a sketch Akara to a Bori, there's no sketch Bori, so you're given a window that allows you to pick any color you want for that future Bori. This enables things like the Ice Bori, which was previously exclusive to downloading some kind of toolbar back in the day. As you can see, this workaround effectively makes every single pet color combination available. There's actually a pretty big limitation here though, where once you use it, the cooldown is 365 days and usages do not stack. So for example, if you've been a premium member for something like 4 years, you don't have 4 uses stacked up. You have that one use, and when you finally use that premium perk, then your 365-day counter starts again. A slightly more game-changing feature that's made available through premium is the Cosmic Dome. And what that does is it essentially enables 2 additional challengers for you to fight in the Battle Dome, Jetsam Ace and the Giant Space Fungus. When you fight these two, you unlock an extra pool of items that have things like Nerk Mids and Bubbling Fungus in them, and these can actually have pretty substantial returns if you do them over the long haul. So it ends up being another major reason that people buy premium so they can have access to this additional Neopoint revenue stream. And the last more recent premium feature I want to touch on is the addition of +4 pet slots. As many of you already know, the maximum number of pets you can have on an account is 20. 6 come from the base of your account, 10 come from pet slots that you can purchase from the NC Mall, and the last 4 come from having a live premium membership. For me, this is probably the biggest reason why I continue to have a premium membership. I find that it enables me to have even more opportunities for customization. It gives me even more opportunities to find pets. It gives me even more pets to trade around and keep on my main account because I hate jumping between side accounts. So I think it's a really cool feature personally. Now, before I move on to the most recent changes and the controversies that surround them, I do want to quickly note that this isn't everything that premium offers. I chose to highlight some of the biggest features, but there's a lot more like ad blocking, featured games, gallery categories, customization journals, space fairy quests, premium boons, and additional random events. I personally think these are fairly small rewards in comparison to everything I listed out before, and usually aren't the primary reason why anyone would be signing up for premium, but I'm sure there are some folks out there, so I want to make sure I give credit where it's due. So I just want to say, like, I do acknowledge those. touch those. Alright, so with that said, let's move on to the most recent changes. In August of 2024, TNT actually surprised premium members with a goodie bag drop. To everyone's surprise, this goodie bag actually pulled from an insane pool of items, some of which were like hundreds of millions of Neo points. Now, I will say that TNT had previously told that line of bringing pay to win into Neopets through things like the NC cookies and rare item codes and Super Shop Wizard and things like that, but I feel like this is probably one of the single most notable examples to come to the game. And coincidentally, or maybe not that coincidentally, this actually happened basically around the same time as that scratch card pool update, which included that inverted Space Fairy stamp. Now for reference, that inverted Space Fairy stamp used to be 250 million Neo points. That said, while researching for this video, I actually didn't see that much negative commentary on social media about these changes. In fact, it kind of seemed like people were just happy to see these super expensive items be made more accessible for everyone. It's a pretty stark contrast, I would say, to the reaction we've seen with the most recent changes, and that kind of brings me to the most recent and I would say the most controversial change to come, the premium bonus with the advent calendar. On November 30th, TNT announced that this year's advent calendar would include a daily bonus item for premium players in addition to the regular daily prizes. Non-premium members would actually still see the item they could have gotten, which a lot of folks saw as a not so subtle push to subscribe. If you signed up later in the month though, you could revisit that day and collect the item that you missed. So to put it simply, the reactions were very mixed. On one hand, you had folks that were really upset about this blatant pay to win aspect in the game, and they were also upset about the lack of tact in pushing these exclusive premium items in the faces of people that did not have premium. On the other hand, some folks were just happy that they were seeing premium finally get some attention. I also think the passion from that side was even further ignited because this update was coming right off the heels of the release of the premium collectibles mystery capsule, which made people just feel really bad and really question why they had premium. So it was kind of a weird situation. When it comes to premium changes, I can kind of see both sides of the argument, per usual. On one hand, adding these features to premium really enhances the value of premium in a very tangible way. These updates really do incentivize subscribing, especially when you compare them to the older features that felt sort of stale for the modern game. Additionally, given that Neopets has pretty rocky foundations and the future is always uncertain, it's clear that Neopets needs consistent revenue to survive. This evolution in premium may be a necessity, even if it means sacrificing some of the game's original playstyle for financial stability. On the other hand, I understand why people are concerned. Neopets has traditionally been a game where you can only really do well and win through the investment of a ton of time and being really strategic about how you go about everything. We've never been able to just swipe a credit card and get everything we want. That's actually something that I've always really loved about Neopets, and it's what's kept me coming back for years and years and years. I feel like introducing pay-to-win mechanics like this are a very slippery slope. I've seen games like MapleStory get completely ruined through the introduction of pay-to-win mechanics, and it's scary to think that that could happen to Neopets. At the end of the day, I think it's all going to be a balancing act. I think premium should really be about quality of life and enhancing the player experience, making things just easier. Sometimes that may include little perks that give you, access to more Neo points, but as long as they're not locking core gameplay behind a paywall, I can see it working. The big question is whether or not TNT will be able to find that balance. So with all that said, what do you think? Do you think Neopets is kind of hurting their future or helping it? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, but please be nice to each other if you do comment. I don't want people fighting. All that said, I think I will call it a video here, a fairly short one, but I do think some of the implications and precedent that this update is setting are pretty important, and a lot of folks are talking about it, so wanted to share that with the folks that may not be aware of it. Thank you all for listening to me ramble as always. I hope you are all staying safe, drinking a lot of water, eating a lot of food, and I will see you all for the next one. Bye.